Okay, if it is Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, that can mean just one thing. It's time for the goRIA live stream. And with us today, as you can see, we have with us Diana Cabrices. Diana, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Chuck. It's always great to join you on this show.
It's always great to have you here. And if Diana's here, that means we are talking about goRIA, of course. And as you may know, if you've been watching us for a while, Diana is actually one of 3 resident RIA SMEs, subject matter experts. So we also have, in addition to Diana, we are pleased to have Dr. Preston Cherry, as well as Jamie Hopkins. So the 3 of them together are our 3 resident RIA SMEs. Now, why is that important? Well, number one, from my perspective, it's always good to get everyone's feedback from Diana and Preston and Jamie, what they're hearing on the street. And we have regular podcasts to that end. But what we're going to talk about today with Diana. So on June 13th, and this is a real big announcement. We've already announced it. Now I'm announcing it again. June 13th, we are going to have a half-day virtual goRIA masterclass. So if you're an advisor looking to goRIA, whether you're looking to tuck into an RIA and figure out how to pick the best one for you, or if you want to build your own RIA, this half-day masterclass on June 13th, all virtual, easy to get to, of course, is going to talk about compliance, how to set up your RIA, your technology stack. Fee-based everything is one of my favorite panels where we will highlight all the different fee-based products and solutions that you do not need a Series 7 for. But what I'm super excited about is the first panel of the day. We're calling it Going RIA 101, and it's going to feature our 3 resident experts, Diana, Preston, and Jamie. Now, I was actually down in South Carolina a couple of weeks ago and just randomly happened to have the ability to have Jamie and Preston with me, so we did a little promo there. But I'm super excited to have Diana on the live stream with us today because we all want to hear what Diana's going to bring to the table. So with all that said, Diana, there's so much you could bring to the table, but for that Going RIA session, that real, what should these advisors be thinking about? What are you going to be telling them?
Oh, first, I just want to express my excitement. Like if I had a party popper right now, I'd pop it off. Getting to talk with Jamie Hopkins, Dr. Preston Cherry, and yourself on such an important topic of going RIA, but taking it from a really broad standpoint, I think will help a lot of advisors who are looking to transition into being an RIA. Of course, when I bring myself into any conversation around this topic, I immediately think about how different it looks to be part of a firm like a broker dealer or a different type of firm, a wirehouse, and moving into the RIA space. You immediately go from this to this when it comes to the amount of options that you have and freedom that you have. And yes, we're going to talk about technology and operationalizing your business and compensation models. But what I want to come and bring to the table is going to be more focused on you as an advisor marketing yourself and positioning yourself, because now you're not as necessarily attached to a brand or a corporate brand. You get to be a little bit more yourself. And so how that looks, how it feels to insert yourself into your marketing, which really is going to start with who are you going after? And most advisors going RIA have some sort of client base, Chuck, and they know who their ideal client is. But now the ability to market to those people has changed. It looks a lot differently. So continuing to build out whatever niche that you're focusing on, truly inserting yourself into your own brand, doing more video, doing more content, making sure the website spotlights the problem that you're solving, but also who you are in the process, your story. Yes, there's technology for marketing and communications. So what kind of tech can you lean on now that you have a little bit more freedom to choose and optionality? There's so many options in the space. Where do you even start? What should you do? What should you not do when it comes to marketing technology? Because there's a lot of silver bullets being sold out there. And we don't want advisors to, number one, feel overwhelmed, but number two, fall into the wrong pathways. You can spend a lot of money really quickly on marketing. But again, at the same time, we know some of the top performing, highest growth firms are investing in their marketing. So, how should that investment look like? Where do you want to spend those marketing dollars? I could go on, but I'm really excited to come in with these other resident experts and share some of this information and things that I'm really passionate about.
Absolutely. And we are very glad to have you. And you bring up a good point, right? So it's kind of the good news, bad news, and they're both the same in the RI
Right.
space, which is there's so much choice. And that's clearly more good than bad. But where it could get bad is, what's that expression? The shiny new toy syndrome. Like, ooh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And let me tell you
Yep.
something. I suffer badly from that. Like, I love ideas, and I tend to be a pretty early adopter. I'm like, oh, that's great. That's great. So that is the good news about the RIA space. Do you market in the broker dealer space? Of course you do.
Yeah.
Are there much tighter guardrails in the broker dealer space? Absolutely. Right. In the RIA space, and certainly if you're building your own RIA, you're doing your own compliance. If you think it
Yep.
makes sense, you're doing it. Now, which is not to say it's the Wild West. You still want to be compliant, but you're making your own choices on what makes sense, what doesn't, as opposed to some centralized compliance office that has nothing to do with your business. And that is the advantage. So I love that point that you're bringing up. So we are going to talk about that. And the last thing I'll say on this, when it comes to marketing, when you talk to advisors that went RIA, they love the higher payout, and we'll talk about that too, but they love the freedom for that marketing. So I think that's going to be great stuff. Can you give
Mm-hmm.
us one more taste of what you want to bring to the table there, Diana? Because I know you're going to talk about more than just that.
Yes, goodness. So when it comes to technology, another area that I want to touch on here is beyond just marketing, communications, and branding. I really do want to talk about like what does that fundamental tech stack look like for an RIA firm? I've interviewed quite a few RIA firms in my career, and most recently I got to interview a firm based out of Denver who, they've gone in the last 5 years from essentially no assets under management because they came from a wirehouse to now 500 million in assets under management with the
Yeah,
most simple tech stack. And there was a very, again, simple formula there to how they approached it. They kind of looked at every angle of the business and said, we need one thing here, and one thing there. I'd love to share more of that story when we meet together and what that
mhm,
tech stack looked like, because I think, again, there can be overwhelm. There are a ton of options, but in all reality, like when you look at what's really practical and what's going to move the needle in each sort of segment of the business, you don't need everything. So I'd love to talk about that as well.
that's right. And that really touches upon something that we talk about quite a bit, and I'm sure we will with you that day as well, is the idea of an all-in-one solution versus pick and choose versus somewhere in between, which is like a most in one, right? And we'll
Mm-hmm.
leave that as a teaser. So what do we mean by that? Well, you have the account management system, you have the financial planning system, you have the risk analytics, all these things that you may want. You can find solutions where they're all in one package, which might be the right thing for you, or you may want to pick and choose. So we'll touch
Yep.
upon that as well. Great
Yep.
stuff. Well, I think we may want to leave it on that. Do you have any parting thoughts for the audience before we let you go?
Don't miss it. Please be there. This is going to be an amazing day of content all in one place. Like, if you think about it, everything that you're going to learn from this masterclass, this, on June 13th, you could go and spend hours here, there, everywhere, kind of picking up this information. But this is one single place where you're going to get pretty much everything you need A to Z if you're thinking about going RIA or you are going RIA. Even if you've recently gone RIA, there's a lot of good info here. So I can't wait. Chuck, thank you for having me and letting me be a part of it.
Oh, you bet. We are super pleased and honored to have you be part of this, Diana. So you're going to bring a lot to the table. I appreciate it. I know the audience does. And the last thing I will say, just to echo what Diana was just saying there, I went RIA. I'm a breakaway advisor myself. I did so about 5 years ago. And truly, 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 I wish there was something like this 7 years ago when I was doing my due diligence on how to go RIA. I think I would have avoided a lot of mistakes. So we are very pleased to bring this as a resource. If you've been watching Go RIA, you know that I love talking about it, and I love talking about it with experts like Diana. So if you're thinking about going to the RIA space, and to Diana's point, if you've recently gone, there'll be some good content for you as well. Join us on June 13th. It's going to be about 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time. The specific agenda will be up on goRIA.com in a couple of weeks, as well as the registration. So for now, save the date, and we hope to see you then. So Diana, thanks again for joining us. And on behalf of Go RIA, fueled by investment news, I'm Chuck Vela. We'll see you next Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.